Hey, everybody, welcome back to Lettermen Row. I am Austin Ward. You guys know him. That's Beanie Wells, former Ohio State NFL running back, first-round draft pick. I thought, Beanie, that we were going to be done with Zoom for a while. We're allowed to go back to the office. The podcast is going again.
Yes,
but here we got to make do anyway.
I'm just happy to be back doing something. I mean, whether it's Zoom, whether it's in the studio, I'm just glad to be back doing something, talking about football.
Absolutely. We can do that today. And, a guy that we've talked about a lot in a lot of different ways, Master Teague. You kind of bristled a little bit at the comparisons to your own game, but it started so strong last September, and people really, the ceiling seemed to be raised. And then by November, kind of a little bit crashing back to reality, and then an injury in training camp. But Beanie, let's just assume that somehow the Achilles is healed and he's ready to go in September. What's the next step here for Master Teague to get going back to that early season version instead of maybe what happened down the stretch?
I just think it's understanding your role, understanding that you are looked at as one of the marquee guys, and that, you're going to be a guy that this team counts on tremendously. So with that being said, you got to do what you have to do as far as taking care of your body, making sure you understand your responsibilities with taking care of your body, loosening up those hips a little bit. There were times where he was a little bit stiff running last year, and making sure his durability is going to be there throughout the year. So whether that's, running extra sprints, doing extra squats, whatever you have to do to maintain your body and your mental state and be prepared for that team to be leaning on you.
It seems like, he was in some key situations, and we've got this. He was in on a really important drive in the game last year. It's not the most explosive runs. We saw him, he didn't appear at all in the Big Ten championship game when Ohio State needed him in the Fiesta Bowl against Clemson. It seemed like there was just something missing. If you got to sit down with Master and break down his game, aside from the things you mentioned, what can take him to that next level? And do those experiences against the Clemson, against the Michigan, how will those play into the development?
Certainly. I think first and foremost it would be, maybe loosening up his running style a little bit. I know there was a lot of times, especially late in the season, where he was kind of bunched up and kind of just running for the sake of just running hard and being a bulldozer. And I think that's great, and I think that's needed. I think you also have to have a little bit more wiggle to be able to get in and out of those cuts. And I think we saw that versus Clemson. He wasn't able to do that as well as he was in the earlier part of the year. So I think, doing some exercises that will maybe loosen him up a little bit and allow him to maybe spring those runs. And, he's running straight ahead and he's able to pop to the outside. Some of those exercises that allow him to take control of his athletic ability a little bit more.
We've certainly seen what he can do when he does get going straight ahead, but that's not always going to be so easy. That Michigan game is an opportunity to look and see maybe how he can find some extra yards. Beanie's going to check it out for us right now. Let's roll the tape. All right, Beanie, when you look at this here, these are not going to be the biggest runs of the season. We're not going to be breaking down the explosive touchdowns here, but this is that drive. It's the third quarter. The game's still not over in the rivalry. And, Justin Fields isn't out there and J.K. Dobbins isn't out there, but Ohio State does trust Master Teague to go out in a situation, and that says something right there by itself.
No doubt about it. These runs are right here. They're the ugly runs that nobody really wants to see, but these are at times needed to keep a drive going. And here you got Master Teague doing a great job making the first guy miss. That's always important out of a running back. I think you got to get your shoulder squared to the line of scrimmage. When you make that first guy miss, you got to be looking for somewhere to go. And I think here he just puts his head down and goes forward and gets those 2 or 3 yards. But I think there was a little bit more to attain in this situation. But maybe he was looking at it like, hey, it's the end of the game. Let's get the chains moving.
What is it you always tell me? What's the math equation? They block it up for 2 or 3. Running back needs to get 5 or 6.
Without question. If it's blocked for 2 or 3, you got to be a running back to give me 4 to 5. You got to get more than they're blocking it for. You got to have that athletic ability and that power to be able to take over.
And I don't know the playbook. I don't know the keys. You know it better than I do, but we still know exactly how every play is drawn up. This one, it just looks like there's a hole to get to the outside, and you've got the KJ Hill ceiling, and I don't know if he maybe decides too early to give up on that, or what do you see if this is the hole for you and you're trying to make something happen here?
You certainly see the hole to get to the outside, but you certainly see what he's looking at right now, and that's that hole directly in front of him. I think he has to hit that a little bit more. He has a hat on the hat in terms of the blockers. He's doing what he can and getting his shoulder squared to the line of scrimmage and taking that defender on along with the blocker. But there certainly was a lane to the outside, but a lot of times when you're a running back, once you get square and that's how your athletic ability is, you can't really bounce around. You're not one of those guys that does that. You got to take what the offensive line and the defense is giving you.
He does seem like he's always willing to take that and that he trusts. You know, he's got that big frame. He's not quite Beanie Wells size, but he's willing to just go bang in there. And that's, you know, this drive showed that. He didn't bounce anything outside. And you talked about that off the top, that maybe that could be something he adds to the game. This is an example where he does just bullhead. He wound up getting 5 yards on this rush. And so, you know, sometimes you're going to take that, but Ohio State's offense is really built off that explosive ability at tailback.
I mean, certainly it is, and it always has been. But you do have to take what the defense is giving you. But I think certainly with him and his maturity, the more time he's there, the more time he has the opportunity to develop. And more importantly, when you know you're the unquestioning guy, you're able to settle into a position a whole lot more opposed to when you're playing spot duty. And when you're coming in and you're just trying to not make mistakes, you're trying to get positive yards, not do anything too creative because you don't want to, you know, do anything too creative and make a mistake out there. So I think once he gets a little bit more comfortable and if he becomes the unquestioned starter, I think we'll see a lot more loose of a runner than we saw late last year.
I mean, and here you go. He doesn't – this looks like one where he is about to slip it, kind of one of those plays we saw earlier in the year where he was picking people apart. It looks like it's just right there, and it doesn't happen. He does get the first down, and you don't want to be too critical in situations like that, but it seemed like it was just a fraction away at the end of the year where there was a gear that he needed to get, and he wasn't hitting it.
Yes, certainly. I see that. What was Master Teague? Was Master Teague a freshman last year?
That was his second year in the program.
Second year in the program, but did he redshirt?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he redshirted. So a lot of times when you get out there for the first time, you're playing and you didn't play the entire year last year, you kind of hit what they say that rookie wall, essentially. The later the season goes on, the more wear and tear you hit. Your body isn't really built for that yet. So I think that's maybe what we saw a little bit of with Master Teague late last year.
Still room to grow. It didn't have that spring ball that he wanted, an unfortunate setback with the Achilles. We'll see how the rehab comes along, see if Master Teague can get back on track and be one of those next guys in line to carry the tote the ball there for the Buckeyes like Beanie Wells did there not too long ago. Beanie, appreciate the insight, as always, on BuckIQ at Lettermen Row. For Beanie, I'm Austin Ward. We'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Letterman Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and you know we got BuckIQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.